program.
What you talking about?
The program. The program. Get with the program.
Everybody clap to this. Say what?
Get with the program.
It starts now.
Hello and welcome to Get With The Program Radio Show. I'm your host, Gary Jones. Now, Get With The Program Radio Show is a multicultural, informative, relevant, and entertaining one-hour weekly show offering you a combination of diverse interviews with questions and comments. And as always, we will act as a positive source of information. Now, listen, if you want to be a guest on the show, all you have to do is log into www.getwiththeprogram.biz. Shoot me an email, leave me a message. You never know, you may have a conversation that we would love to talk about. Or you can reach me at 919-665-1118. Again, that's 919-665-1118. Shoot me an email, GaryJones16@yahoo.com. Now listen, today we're going to be joining a conversation with Dr. Bahby Banks. Now, Dr. Banks is CEO and Principal Research Consultant of Pillar Consulting, a program evaluation research firm dedicated to helping organizations measure the impact of their initiatives. She states that her work has led to a career that has spanned research in the Americas, Africa, Europe, and Australia, and have co-authored several peer-reviewed publications in national and international journals. Hello, Dr. Bahby, and welcome to Get With The Program Radio Show.
Good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you this morning.
I'm telling you, your bio, your bio was so extensive. I had to break it down. You know what? To my listeners, I didn't even get a chance to read half of the stuff that she's done. She's done a lot. You've done so many presentations all around the world. It is amazing. And your energy, if my audience could see you right now, it'd be amazing to know that the energy level in this room right now is on full throttle, just to let you know.
If I bring nothing else, I bring energy. I bring energy if nothing else.
You bring in the energy for sure. I noticed you play drums.
I do.
I did see that on the website. I'm a drummer as well, but I noticed you play drums. And tell me about that experience.
I will. I do want to, before we jump into that, I appreciate all the accolades and all the she been here, there, and everywhere. But I do want to acknowledge I'm Dorothy's child. I'm Dot's child. That's who I am at the end of the day. I'm Robert's namesake and Dorothy's child. But I had parents and family and friends who sold so much into me. So I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge those great folks who are living and who have transitioned.
Absolutely.
I play the drums, yes. So my dad taught me in 1989. He was in the Air Force, so we were stationed kind of all over the place. And we were at Oktoberfest. It's a huge festival in Germany where folks they drink everything there. But we were there, and my dad bought me a little snare drum. It was probably the size of, smaller than like a sweet potato pie. And he taught me a military cadence on it. And I remember that cadence to this day. And so when it came time in middle school and high school, and they were like, what instrument do you want to play? I've never been the one to be like everybody else. So I didn't want to play the flute, the clarinet. I wanted to play the drums. So I started 1990 in the percussion section, and I could play everything from the triangle to bass drum. But I'm still trying to learn a drum set.
Wow.
That's my goals in life, to get that. Because I couldn't even play the quads in marching band. It requires a lot of coordination. So that's the last man standing.
That's right. The drums, because I have a 7-piece set myself, and you have to have 4 limbs.
Can I have it?
No.
Can I have? I need it in my life. Those are my goals, to get a drum set. Yes. But I love the drums. Music to me in general is just so visceral. And so as you see, I came into this room and I'm like, music is in me. It's like, it's in my soul, my spirit. So drums are the way that I bang it out.
Oh yeah, drums. To me, they relieve a lot of tension, because I also play part-time with a band. I love to play with bands.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I love it. Now,
are we starting another band? I'm not trying to take anybody's job. No, I'm just playing. Go ahead.
All right, Dr. Bahby. Okay, tell me where you're from. Tell me who you are and where you're from.
So what's funny is people try to place my accent. They're like, is it Southern or Eastern or Western? I'm a military child. So every 3 years, because my dad was in the Air Force, we moved somewhere else. So I was born in Florida. Then we moved to Virginia, Germany, Utah. My mom used to say we moved from one foreign country to another foreign country. Mm-hmm. Back to Virginia. And then I went to college. So I'm a child of the world. I've kind of been there and done that in every sense of the word. So home is wherever the Christmas tree is or the turkey is for Thanksgiving. That's home. But I've lived in North Carolina for 16 years.
Wow.
So like This is home to me. You see where I'm doing my work now. This is the closest I've ever had to home. I've never lived anywhere for more than 4 years.
Wow. You went to school here in this area?
So I'm a FAMU Rattler. I bleed orange and green. Y'all got to clean this microphone off now. Rattler pride. So I did my undergrad at FAMU, and then I went to Boston for my master's, and I came to Carolina for my PhD.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be 2 years. I was like, I'm out.
Wow.
2 years. Gone. And I'm still here. 16 years later. So yeah, came to Carolina, knocked that out, and started my own little business here.
Wow. What'd you get your PhD in?
Health behavior. So what I noticed and this is why with this pandemic, like I don't know if you've had moments in your life and you're just like, dang, I got some tools and like they might work right now. So my undergrad degree was in biology. I took microbiology. I took immunology. I've taken all of the coursework. So I did biology, and then I did epidemiology and biostatistics for my master's. And then for my PhD, I did behavioral research. So what I noticed looking at all those numbers, I was just like, so when we gonna move? Like the same thing we're doing with this pandemic, like, oh, okay, we gonna watch this go up and up and up and up. Like, when are we gonna shake and move and do something? So when I came to Carolina, like all of my brain cells were in the creative piece. Like, okay, I've seen the numbers, like what can we do? So PhD is in health behavior, a lot of combination of like psychology and sociology and racism and systems and structures, and like taking that and being able to craft. For me, what I love doing is crafting messaging to help people understand. Because there's a lot of complex information out here, but it doesn't have to be communicated that way, in my opinion.
Now, speaking of health behavior, how do you think the pandemic has contributed to a lot of health behavior issues?
So this is the $1 million question, right? And this is why I started the Not a Host campaign, which is a whole nother, that'll be our next radio session, because that's a whole nother thing to talk about. I think there are layers to this, right? So what I saw at the height of pandemic is, and what we knew, our communities are going to be jacked up. They're jacked up on a regular day because of systems and structures that made them that way, right? People aren't just born into oppressed systems. Like, they were created 1619. Like, they have been there to keep people oppressed. And so what was a challenge for me, thinking from a health behavior lens and thinking from an epidemiology lens, for those who don't know epidemiology, like, we study epidemics. This is what we're in right now. We study disease and how it grows in populations. What was a challenge for me, Gary, was we kept pointing at people, and we do that all the time. Like, you got high cholesterol, you got high blood pressure because you eat bad food. Well, if that's all that's in your community, where are they supposed to get their fruits and vegetables from? Right? So we can point at people, or we can point at systems and policy and systems and structures, right? And it's the same with a lot of stuff. Like, obesity is one, diabetes, don't eat high sugar foods or drinks. Okay, well, what they got in the convenience store? Right. I don't see no fresh, like, where are the fruits and vegetables? Right. So what I saw with this pandemic early on was that same pointing the finger at people, right? You're hesitant to get tested. You're hesitant to get the vaccine. Well, who did you interview to ask them if they were hesitant? You didn't come by my house, and none of my friends have been interviewed for you to say that this epidemic is a problem because people aren't doing something, versus saying, well, are the vaccines available? Or even if they don't want the vaccine, can they get tested? Where are the sites? Are they close to people's neighborhoods, or do they have to jump 18 buses between 3 jobs to go get tested? Right? So thinking from a health behavior perspective, yeah, we want people to make the best decision for their health. There are folks who got vaccinated. There are people who never will. Right? So we got to figure out the best way to mitigate or like lower their risk, while we hold systems accountable for the mess that's been created. So from a health behavior perspective, we kind of got to go both directions. Help to inform people the best that we can, and to hold systems accountable as well. So that's your take on it. Do you think that this faulted system right here, you think it was created by design? Absolutely. And that's not like this is a secret, we don't know. Like, there's plenty of literature out there to say, look, if you know about redlining, right, where the government literally drew red lines around neighborhoods because they had high percentages of Black people, and told lenders like, don't give them no loans. How are you and your family going to establish wealth when the system has said nah to you from day one? Like, nope, and nope. So it's not a secret. It's not did you know? It's very clear information that's out there that shows that the system isn't broken. It's operating exactly as it was designed. And that's what we got to acknowledge and be like, well, dang, if it's set up right now that you can't even get to a health center on a regular day for your regular care, how we fix that? Like, let's get there first, right? Let's figure out how to make these things better at a systemic level. But yeah, it's not a secret. Like, Google redlining, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So just this is common information. It's just a matter of people seeking that information.
Absolutely. Now, vaccine hesitation. You mentioned some stuff about vaccine being available for all communities. Why do you think we have the vaccine hesitation in our thought process? Because we do know past historic events stimulates that. Other than that, what else would you think contributes to that?
I do not like that term, vaccine hesitancy. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. I don't like the term vaccine hesitancy labeled for one group of people. There are white people, Latino people, black people, old people, young people who don't want to get the vaccine and have vaccine hesitancy. If we follow what's going on in the media right now, it looks like, oh man, these black folks don't like the Tuskegee study. Like, we have very legitimate reasons to not trust not only the medical system, not only the research system, but so many other systems. And again, this isn't like, oh, I'm whispering behind the scenes. Like, we see what's happened with the education system, right? We've seen what's happened with housing. We've seen what's happening with healthcare. And so hesitancy, or vaccine hesitancy, if that's what we want to call it, is a result of that, right? And we can't call them historical, abuses. It's still happening today. And I don't mean in like the scope of Tuskegee, but we still see black women dying in childbirth. In the most developed, wealthy country in the world with all the resources, something ain't right in this system for us to see black women dying in childbirth. And you try to account for everything, age, income, educational status, rural, urban, got hair, don't have hair, like, nothing can explain this. And so what we need to do, and what I think we need to think about in messaging, is really acknowledging people's real issues with distrust, asking about it, letting them know what going back to systems again, systems, what do you need to do to garner trust, and helping people navigate through that system. That was like the painstaking thing to us at the height of the epidemic, because again, on that spectrum from testing to tracing and tracking and vaccines, like, this is bad. Like, this is bad, because
it really is.
The work of garnering trust with communities isn't a yesterday job or a tomorrow job. It takes time, right? But we also got this highly infectious disease, like, going through communities. And so it's like a ticking, it's a clock. It really is a clock ticking. And so how do we help people make the best decisions given all of that? That's a long-winded response, but yeah, that's what I think.
Makes a lot of sense, though. Listen, we're going to take a break here, Dr. Bahby. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back. I want to touch some issues on trust in the justice system, because you seem to be well-rounded and you do a lot of speaking, and we're going to touch a little bit of that. Listen, don't touch that dial. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with more We Get With The Program radio show. I'm your host, Gary Jones. Don't touch that dial. Be right back after this. Hello and welcome back to Get With The Program radio show. Again, I'm your host, Gary Jones. Today we're joining a conversation with Dr. Bahby Banks. Dr. Banks is she's the CEO and principal research consultant of Pillar Consulting. And we're having a wonderful conversation. We talked about a lot of good things before we took the break. But now I want to ask you, Dr. Banks, in relation to the justice system, we see a lot of things going on with police accountability. From your eyes, do you think there's a lot of issues going on in the justice system and also with police accountability?
And so that's another topic where I think we don't have to say, whisper in the corner and say, ooh, I wonder, or I guess. So my training is in data, right? I look at numbers. What are the numbers showing us? And so what we know in this country with this system is that things just ain't equitable. There is not equity, right? If we think about justice and mass incarceration, the data has shown there's a substance, right, crack cocaine, that if you're caught with one substance, you get 2 weeks. If you're caught with another substance, you got mandatory minimum for the same substance. Same substance. So back to common sense, that don't make sense. Right. And then if you look at the data, it's black and brown people who are getting, right? They're the people who are in prison for life for not only the having a small amount of substance. But now if we think about other drugs like marijuana, like I just saw a post that the women at the Olympics are the quote elite athletes, but we just got a little black girl who got kicked out of her whole position.
That's right.
But literally saw promotion yesterday where we're like, hey, we got a whole company. Like, so things like that do not make sense. So is there justice or equity? No. And that's from a data perspective. Forget your feelings, forget I'm not going to say your lived experience, because your lived experience is your lived experience. Data shows from the moment our babies enter the system, and I don't mean justice system, I mean even education, they are expelled at higher rates. They are suspended at higher rates. And then you think about mass incarceration. They're incarcerated at higher rates, and it is for the same thing that other populations are doing. And so from that standpoint, the data has shown us that's a no-brainer that there's not equity in that system.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good information. Now, I'm still sort of into this politic thing, not much, but just I want to ask you this right here. What is your take on voter suppression?
So kind of the same thing, right? So this isn't my wheelhouse. I'm primarily in like the diversity, equity, inclusion space or public health. But what I can say is that is also a no-brainer. If we have, I don't know, 1,000 bodies in a community, then 1,000 bodies should be able to go vote. I don't know if you're paying taxes, if you're working.
Yeah, that's right.
I think you should be able to go cast your ballot. So anything that's in place to minimize that, I think we gotta just question, right? So just to me, I'm always about connecting dots and making it make sense. We have to question when things are thrown into place that are like, oh, if you bring bottled water to somebody, okay, just make it make sense for me. Just make it make sense. And so I think we have to think about, I mean, historically it was count the beans in a jar, count the whatever it is in a jar for you to be eligible to vote, or recite the Declaration of Independence. You just got to think about to me, I say it a lot, like make it make sense. Just make it make sense. And so I will not say that I have extensive experience in that area, but I will say make it make sense.
Right.
If there are 100,000 people in the community, they working, they paying bills, they are contributing to the economy, I think they should be able to go cast their vote. That's just my opinion.
Absolutely. Now,
that is also fact, but okay.
That is fact. Absolutely. Now, shifting a little bit here, because you mentioned that you pretty much deal with some health things. Health. Now, health behavior in reference to racism. What's the connection?
Gosh, man, it's such a complex and layered issue. And this is why part of the reason I invest in so many young people, even with the Not a Host campaign that we have right now, I firmly believe we're the people we've been waiting for. There is that link is very clear, data or not. And so I just gave an example with redlining, right? You have limited the extent to which a community can thrive. We know in this country, and I would venture to say the world, wealth is accrued through land, right? And when you strip people of that ability, not only to live, but possibly produce food for their families in so many other ways, what does that look like over time, over decades, over centuries, right? It is impossible for you to live. It is impossible for you. You might be trying to survive, but it's almost impossible for you to thrive. So the link between racism and health in this country, and I'd venture to say others, I've been to others, is the restrictive policies that have been put in place for people to live, right? And so the example I gave earlier of eat your fresh fruits and vegetables, well, if all the farmers were stripped of their land in that community, all of the jobs were stripped in that community, and people literally have themselves to look at the end of the day, but they can go to the corner store and get them all the drinks they would like to get. We need to really think about the extent to which, and I know this is such a polarizing term, right? Racism. And I tell people, like, in so many ways, it's not even about you. This is about systems that were created that you need to acknowledge and work to chip away at. But in some ways, it is about you. So if part of your everyday lived experience and your work, you see this, and there are opportunities to change it, then that's when I'm talking about we're the people we've been waiting for. Make moves, right? And so that's where the link between, and I keep using redlining as an example because that's major. And every major city in this country can tell you, oh, they built a highway through this area, right? Or this was redlined. And even with the pandemic, people are putting out beautiful maps that show the prevalence, or in epidemiology, like the percent of people who have COVID, or the percent of the people who've tested positive. You could lay that right on top of redlined areas. You can do that for diabetes. You can do that for high cholesterol. You can do that for everything, right? There's a clear link between the isms, and in this country, it's racism. We weren't separated based on height, weight, hair texture, maybe. But like in this country, oppression was linked to race, and a very close second is gender, right? And so you cannot operate in health or health-related work and just turn to people and say, and as much as we want them to, go exercise.
Right.
Go eat healthy foods. Go get the vaccine, right? If you turn to their community and it's impossible for them to do it. That is almost, we don't have a Hippocratic oath like physicians do where they got to, raise their hand and do the whole brownie like, I will do no harm and all of that. We don't have that in public health, but just basic ethical humanity is, how long are you going to turn to the people and keep pointing at them and say, well, why don't you exercise when their neighborhood is stripped of everything that gives them an opportunity to exercise? There's nothing recreational for the babies to do,
right?
Or the adults, or you stripped all the jobs. So really thinking about that link. So the link is obvious. And this is why I turn to these young people. I'm just like, y'all got to sit at these tables and have different conversations. We can't still be talking about fruits and vegetables. Like, let's talk about how to change communities.
Exactly.
So sorry to hit the table. I know what that does to sound.
Okay.
But this is why I'm so invested in young people. And you see all the talks that I've done. I try to spice things up and let them know, like, you powerful. I need you to know that you are powerful.
That's right.
Because we're not going to be here forever, Gary. We can play these drums for maybe another 40, 50 years before our time to go.
But we got to go.
Right?
We got to go now.
Right?
Yeah, we got to go.
So giving them the tools and being like, look, we're passing this torch. Do it and do it right. Do it right.
Because it's coming.
It's coming.
Now, got about a minute on this one. Where's the link between healthcare and racism? Because we talked about health behavior, but the healthcare, the insurance, that's a whole nother issue. What is the link there?
And this is something we're learning too. It's funny. I did a talk with some folks of it's the closest I've had to hometown as a child, Newport News. And one of the guys on the call said, well, because they're still navigating through their decision-making process with the vaccine. And I'm just like, as long as you got the right information, dog. As long as you're not making it off of false information. And what he said was, well, what if we keep testing? He's like, 9 out of 10 people would do that. If I just go to my primary care doctor and I test and make sure I don't have it, most people would do that. I was like, okay. How many people got a primary care provider? Sir. Because what we know in this healthcare system, Gary over here choking y'all. What we know in this healthcare system is that I'm getting choked
because there's so much data going in my throat. I can't hardly swallow it.
I ain't bring all my numbers, y'all, but I do have an overall view that we have a significant percent of this population that has been insured for a long time. And the only way they interface with healthcare is the emergency room. So you talking about getting tested at a primary care physician, where they getting tested? And if they test positive, and this is from my work back with HIV way back in the day, if they get tested and they find out they're positive, whether it's HIV, COVID, the flu, whoever, where are they going to get their care? And so some folks just don't want to get tested because they know what the healthcare system looks like. If I get tested, well, God, that's another thing, another burden on my shoulders.
Exactly.
So where am I going to go get my care? And so those are things we have to think about, the stigma associated with some of the things we study. Our healthcare system has a lot of work, and data has shown this. Data has shown this. There are very easy ways to give access to populations to get them the best care, but we cannot assume that everybody got an insurance card like us and go in and get a copay, because they don't.
That's right.
Period.
We struggle with that a lot. Listen, what we're going to do, we're going to take another break here. And once again, we're joining the conversation today with Dr. Bahby Banks. And we're having a wonderful conversation. And we're going to be right back after this. You're listening to Get With The Program radio show. Again, I'm your host, Gary Jones. Don't touch that dial. Hello, welcome back to Get With The Program radio show. Again, I'm your host, Gary Jones. Today, we're joining the conversation with Dr. Bahby Banks. Dr. Banks is CEO and principal research consultant of Pillow Consultant. And among other things, she's a motivational speaker. Before we get started, welcome back to the show.
Thanks so much, Gary. I'm happy to be here.
Now,
they don't know I'm over here being goofy. Go ahead, Gary.
How can somebody get in contact with you? If they want you to come and speak at their engagements, how do they get in contact with you?
So if you go to my website, bahbybanks.com, and my name is spelled B as in boy, A as in apple, H as in Harry, B as in boy, Y as in yellow. It's BahbyBanks.com. And you go to the speaker tab. That'll take you directly to request for whatever you got. So what's important for us to know is like, what's the event? What's the audience? How do I need to come? Because as you just heard, I can come with the best done with the data, or I can just come talk to you about being great and how to navigate your path your way. And so you can visit my website. I'm on all of the social medias. I'm the only Bahby Banks on this good green planet. BAHBY. BANKS. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, message me. I'm happy to serve, particularly our babies and our young people, but I'm happy to serve communities as they navigate not only through this pandemic, but just life in general.
Wow. Good information. So there it is. You want to get in contact with her, bring her to your speaking engagement. If you get a chance, go look at some of her speeches. Wonderful. I had a chance to look at a few of them, and I was moved. And
Did you see the TED Talk?
And I saw, yes, on the TED Talk. And I saw the responses that people were giving you from your speeches was really good.
I appreciate that.
Now, matter of fact, speaking of that, we're going to touch a couple of your speaking engagements. I noticed Black Wall Street Homecoming, 2019. Your conversation was passion, purpose, and prosperity. Those are big conversations right there. Tell me a little bit about that.
So part of my journey to entrepreneurship was part pain and part just trying to figure out the world. So I knew as part of my graduate training that I did not want to quite be a professor in that way. I knew that I wanted to serve communities. And anyone who's heard me out of my mouth since 2006, I said I wanted to be a motivational speaker and an independent research consultant. I've always said that. And so I did not fully understand what wealth is or the importance of building wealth, not only for your company, but for your community. And so as part of that talk, I talked about my journey of sitting at a desk, right? 40 hours a week and being like, so is this what it is? And I called my best friend in Philly. She's about the realest as we get. And I said, so help me understand, is this what people do? They do 9 to 5 for 30 or 40 years, a job they might or might not like. And I was like, what happens when they retire? She said, normally they're too sick to enjoy retirement or they die early because they've been subjected possibly to stressors for 30 or 40 years. And I was like, so yeah, nah, I'm out. And so that's how I started navigating,
exactly
right? So I started because my mother passed away in my eyes prematurely. I dropped her off at the airport one day and she had an aneurysm, a blood clot that ruptured in her brain. And part of the comfort, even in that pain and that grief, was like, Dorothy rode this life till the wheels fell off. Dorothy was tap dancing at my graduation.
Wow.
And I don't mean like, oh no, I mean like she could have been on Dorothy could have won a talent show at age 55. So part of that talk was me navigating a path and some of the circumstances around it and building. You don't just like start a company, you build a brand. That's really right. Learning from like some of the major corporations. Some of them I had, whatever. My respect varies for some of them, but the importance of creating wealth, right? Because broke people can't help broke people.
That's right.
And so part of me navigating this path, I've been in entrepreneurship for 7 years now. Like, what? Was sharing that journey of like, we all at some point in time in life have like this tension between who we know we are and what the world has told us we're supposed to be. And that's where I was sitting at that moment at my desk. And I was just like, so why am I over here? Why am I on the what part when I know who I am? My creativity is unmatched. I just told my mentor yesterday, you will never out karaoke me. There are just some things in this life that I do better and that I'm gifted in to kind of have bounds around that versus creating and being able to do the work. And so that part of that talk was connecting, aligning with your passion, with making sure that you're building a brand that will allow you to prosper.
How do you like being an entrepreneur? Does it feel good? I mean,
it depends on the day.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
The part I didn't know about entrepreneurship, you don't do the work yourself, right? So I have contract work with clients. So at one point I had like 8 different folks. I had to show up for meetings and I was just like, so this is not the entrepreneur part that I wanted. And then I had to get to a point where it's just like, this is your company. What do you want to do? So I can analyze data with the best of them. I can write it up. But what I love doing is talking to communities. I love focus groups. I love interviews. I love taking that information from the community and coming to the table and being like, this is what they told you needed to. You have any questions? This is it. Here you go. So I had to get to a point where I said like, okay, well, you don't have to take any more of these data contracts. Now, if you need to pay your bills, you will. But you are known for, your company is known for engaging exceptionally well with communities across the planet. Why not just be there and do that work? And then you have freedom to create if you get contracts big enough for you to build a team to carry out this work. So,
Wow, that's good information as well. So basically what I'm hearing is that someone can actually give you the topic, give you the conversation they want you to speak about, and you can take it from there.
Pretty much.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, I have a wheelhouse under like networking, because what's funny is as I was starting my business, people were just like, number one, this is the ultimate disrespect. Never do this, people. Can I pick your brain? No. What you can do is book a consultation and pay the people for their work. Anyway, a lot of people are asking me like, can we sit down and have coffee or have a meal? I want to know how you grew your business, because most folks on the street don't know I'm a multilingual Black woman. Like, you could drop me in a Spanish speaking country, a Portuguese speaking country. I do focus groups, I do interviews, and I can analyze data. That's powerful in my space. I can work anywhere. I can hire people that can work anywhere. And so my secret, there was no secret. There was my network. So when I launched my business, they know who I am. And they were like, oh, you got to hire her. If you want good information, some good information from your community or your constituents, you got to hire her, because she's going to get information that you'll never get standing in the room.
Wow.
And so that's part of the networking workshops. In whatever sector I go in, I'm just like, look, never, ever minimize the power of the people in the room with you. You know, folks, not us, but some folks be like, you should talk to the janitor when you come in the building, because they're people too. Why is somebody going to tell you to talk to the janitor? You should be talking to human beings and connecting with human beings all day, every day, not just for your benefit. Somebody got to tell you to talk to the janitor, you got problems. Like, so part of the workshops are not only tools and skills to show you that, but to show you that, like, this little Black girl started her business on my birthday, March 31st, my 35th birthday. And that next month I had a contract with Harvard.
Wow.
Yeah, you saw your eyes? Right.
Yeah,
You know why?
Yeah, my eyes, my eyes black. Yeah.
Because a colleague who knows my work knew that they were doing work around child literacy, and they needed someone who knew how to engage with communities. Been there, done that. Where did I do my graduate degree?
Right.
Boston. Where are my two favorite places on this planet? Boston and Durham. So my first contract out the gate, this little Black girl was Harvard. What do you leverage after that?
It's amazing.
Right?
Right.
And so that's part of the networking workshop, giving them the same tools. I'm sure you know that's 99% of the game. Get your foot in the door.
That's right. Now I heard you say you speak different languages.
Hablo español, falo português, sprechen Deutsch.
Portuguese.
Yeah, falo português.
Spanish.
See?
French.
Nope.
Okay.
Spanish, Portuguese, and I remember my numbers from German. That's
Wow.
it.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's interesting.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, that's crazy. Now, being that you're a speaker, who are some of the great speakers that you follow, that you think are great speakers? Some of the speakers that you
What's
acknowledge.
funny is
It's got to be somebody out there that you say is a great speaker.
This gonna sound really cheesy, but like our aunties and them, they're the best storytellers. I'm not a huge celebrity person. Even me as
You're a celebrity yourself.
Yeah, you beat me to it. Like, even as I advance in my work, I've never had aspirations to be a celebrity. Like,
well, most of us don't, it kind of just lands in our lap.
Yeah.
Because like me, it just, you don't know, it just happens, but you know it, you're a celebrity because you are.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. But there's not one person that I'm just like, ooh, you knocked it out the park. I think that we all, as Maya Angelou has said, we all have a story inside of us. I can't name one off the top of my head. I enjoy our aunties and uncles. To me, look, they can have a microphone doing TED Talks too. I'm trying to see if there's anybody that comes to mind. I've never been asked that question.
That was a good one, right? I tell you what, think about that. We're going to take another break. Think about that. Listen, once again, we're joining the conversation today with Dr. Bahby Banks, and we're just flowing with it, talking about all kind of good stuff, from networking to politics to health issues. We're just having a good conversation. We're going to take a break. Be right back after this. Hello and welcome back to Get With The Program radio show. Again, I'm your host. Today we're joining the conversation with Dr. Bahby Banks. Dr. Banks is CEO and Principal Research Consultant of Pillar Consulting, a program evaluation research firm dedicated to helping organizations measure the impact of their initiatives. Now, welcome back to the show.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
I didn't get a chance to ask you about the company, Pillar Consulting. Tell me about that.
So this was my dream that I spoke out of my mouth 15 years ago now, that I wanted to be an independent research consultant. And part of what you read in my bio is our mission is to build capacity, encourage innovation, and foster change. That's what we do. And so part of what I wanted to do personally and as part of a leader of this organization is to help organizations understand, like, how did you knock it out of the park, right? How do you turn to your stakeholders, meaning your funders, your community members, your leaders, whomever, and say, this is what we did, and be able to communicate that. So that goes back to focus groups, interviews, and data, right? So I used Pillar not only as the name, but also the image for this company, because we know that pillars are support. Right. So we teach our clients how to fish, whether they want to or not. We're going to leave you some tools such you're able to turn and say, like, we reduced this in this community as whomever has been doing for the last 20 or 30 years. We just help you put some parameters around it, get some data around it, so that you're able to turn to your stakeholders to say the impact that you're making. So we started, I started 7 years ago. I told you my first client was Harvard. We have, small rural health clinics. We've done work with breast cancer, child literacy, HIV, AIDS. Right now we're doing a ton of COVID-19 prevention work. Done work as an individual in Brazil, Argentina, interned at the World Health Organization. So all of this is part of my topics too. It's almost like a Forrest Gump. Like, you are always in the right places at the right time, and like wrap all this stuff around your brilliance to create whatever it is for you in the world. And for me, it was Pillar Consulting. So that's the work that we do. 2020 and 2021 have been the year of create content for our people so they understand what's going on in this pandemic, because I got a couple letters behind my name and I was like, what are y'all talking about? Like, I'm watching the news and I'm looking at people comment. I was just like, that's not it. So creating the Not a Host campaign was helping people understand, as part of this, going back to our mission, build capacity, encourage innovation, and foster change. So Not a Host is about as clear as it get, Gary. If you understand nothing else about this pandemic, at the height of the pandemic, you understand the term host. Hopefully. So this is what we're like, look, at the height of this pandemic, the folks are telling you right now, do not have 50, 11 people in your house.
Right.
Whatever you call yourself, you're hosting an event. You're a host. So whether you say got meat on the grill, bring the ice, whatever, please don't do that right now.
That's right.
Like, please don't do that right now, because you can be asymptomatic, meaning you have no symptoms. Ain't no cough, ain't no fever, ain't no nothing, ain't no snot.
But you're carrying it.
Boom. And you spreading it to other people. What?
That's right.
So that was one side, like, don't be a host. And then the other side was straight with that asymptomatic piece. Like, I think a lot of people in the public health world assume that people knew what asymptomatic meant. Why would they?
Tell us that.
Why would they? And
That's
the example I always give is like, I drive a car. I've driven a car since I was 16, but I can't tell you nothing beyond oil change and tires. So somebody mentioned the carburetor, or I had to replace my serpentine belt. I don't know what that is.
You're done.
So let's just break it down for people, whether they know or not.
That's right.
So this is what we know. You had to host an event, and then the other host is, look, viruses gone virus. They do two things in this world. They replicate. They're looking for a host. Your body. Warm body with a ticking heart. Viruses are looking for a host so that they can keep replicating themselves. They take over your cells, and then your cells are like, oh, That's when it takes over your body. You are a host for the virus. That's what viruses do. Just like baby's kids, we die, we multiply. Like, viruses multiply and they mutate. They've done that since the beginning of time. They're going to do that before us. They're going to do that after us. So part of what we explained with this campaign was, don't be a host. Don't have a million people in your house. And like, look, when people say asymptomatic, they mean these viruses gone virus, and they going to find a host. Whether it's on a doorknob, microphone, ink pen, and you touch your eyeballs or your nose, they're going to find their way. So this is why folks are telling you to wrap that mask around your nostrils and your mouth.
Protect yourself.
Do not collect 200, right?
That's right.
This is why they're telling you to wash your hands. So if you touch something, and because we do this, and when I say this, y'all, like, we put our hands around our nose and eyes and mouth all the time, wash your hands. And then what scientists knew when the alpha variant came out, and alpha was the first, they've named them Greek letters now. We on Delta. So we done.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. We gonna wait till Omega? Like, I don't know. Anyway.
What's the next one?
I don't even know. I try to be an optimist. So, and when they say wait, what they knew about this virus, the first one when it came out, was that the particles go about 4 feet and then they drop to the ground. And so they gave you 6 feet. They gave you an extra 2 feet. And so this is why they tell you to wash, wait, and wear, so that you are not a host for this virus. And so that started as a little small project here in Durham. We got folks out in the Piedmont. We're now statewide. We're leading the statewide health literacy campaign. Your listeners need to come. It's called Drop-In Hours.
Okay.
The next one is July 28th and then August 25th. But look, it's like y'all come in the room, kick your feet up. We bringing these experts in, ask your questions. This ain't the space where we're pushing or guilting or convincing anybody to do anything. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing worse in my mind than making a decision based off of wrong information.
Wow. Good information. Again, you are putting out nuggets left and right. You do know that, right?
I'm trying.
Now, one of your speaking engagements, Ted Hilton Head 2019, mm-hmm. The confidence of the conundrum. Mm-hmm. I want to know about. Touch it a little bit for me.
Y'all go check out the TEDx talk called Confidence Conundrum.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
This is what I find. Whether you are a 16-year-old or a 66-year-old, this world has kind of taught us that there's not a place for you, right? Like, Gary, what did you see images of yourself growing up? Did you see, maybe you had Tom Jones, like, I don't know. I didn't see images. I didn't even know we could get PhDs. I didn't know of black doctors. I knew black nurses because my mom was a nurse. Mm-hmm. And so I think part of what we've been kind of conditioned to is you can go through schooling in this entire country and never see an image of you in a textbook.
True.
Images of beauty don't really reflect you. When I say you, I'm talking about me, little black girl. And you're not a creator. No one told me that Garrett Morgan invented the gas mask and the stoplight. Do you know I would celebrate at every stoplight in the country and just be like, like, you know? Mm-hmm. And so part of the confidence conundrum was like, look, this is what I found to be the biggest thing that keeps people from walking into their greatness, right? Mm-hmm. And I walk people through 6 steps. And so it's called solving the confidence conundrum. And the 6 steps spell out the word solved. And so it's basically like, look, when you presented with an opportunity, be ready.
Absolutely.
When you say you want to do something or be something, write it down. Write it down.
Because you will forget it. You will forget it. That's right.
And I make vision boards. I got vision boards in my house from when I walked off that job 7 years ago to present day of everything I wanted to do. And this TED Talk was one of them. And so the confidence conundrum is walking people kind of through my journey and what I've seen with my clients, whether it's one-on-one or entire organizations. Mm-hmm. They get to the very, very end. They've done everything they wanted to do. They've spoken and said exactly who they want to be. They did the work and they get to the end and they just like, I don't know. What you mean? Right. I don't know. If you don't jump off that cliff and do and be great, you got your wings. Like, not those kind of wings. Not the way, but the wings of greatness.
Yeah. The only way you're gonna learn how to swim, what you got to do? You got to jump in the water.
That's it. So that's what that TED Talk was about. I got to stand like, you'll hear it at the end of the talk. Folks are like, it makes sense. I do that with all my talks, with all my work, red light, green light. Mm-hmm. So that's what the talk is. Check it out. It's Solving the Confidence Conundrum. It's my TEDx talk with Hilton Head, South Carolina, TEDx Women.
Now you had, we talked a little bit about this earlier, preparation and opportunity. Mm-hmm. I remember Oprah Winfrey had that comment. Success has something to do with preparation and opportunity. Mm-hmm. Being prepared when it knocks on your door. Mm-hmm. How important is that?
Stay ready. Stay ready. So what y'all may not know, Gary reached out to me, I don't know, a couple weeks ago.
Absolutely.
Through my connect. Shout out to Delon Canterbury. And I was ready. He could have told me to come to his radio show the next day. I have not only in my head all of my brilliance and the brilliance of my team and my peers and my colleagues, I got everything in writing. You could ask me for a rundown of my company. I got the 1-pager ready. Not a host. I got the 1-pager ready. My speaker sheet. I got that booger ready, right? What you never want to happen is an opportunity presents itself. And we teach our kids about elevator pitches, right? Stay mm-hmm. ready. Mm-hmm. And so as part of that workshop, we have them go through researching an organization in its entirety. Because if you go present for anything, whether it's me pitching to a potential funder mm-hmm. or teaching a young person how to prepare for an interview, you need to know that entity, that organization, that funder, that job better than they do. Mm-hmm. They need to be looking at you with their eyes open like, how did you know that? Because I researched you. I know who you are. I already know who I am. So that's the workshop about preparation and opportunity. It's very hands-on. That is the most popular one for young people without question. Mm-hmm. And I actually have an entire virtual series called the Virtual Student Leadership Series mm-hmm. that I've taught with students along HBCUs across the entire Southeast and Puerto Rico. And we're about to do it in Spanish. It's all of that. It's like, look, you exactly where you're supposed to be. Stay ready. This is how you present yourself in the context of networking. This is how you sell your worth. Ain't no drawing back. Confidence. And then the last thing, particularly for students doing research, what you walking away with at the end? I got my one pagers. I stay ready. What you got? So if you go do this internship with Gary and you're learning about how to engage with people and talk about health or public health on the radio, you and Gary better put together a blog or something. You need to say you contributed to something. You know what I mean?
You better be ready.
Right, stay ready. So that's why that's one of the most popular ones. It's very interactive, and I help them understand you need to know yourself extremely well. You need to know that organization better than they know themselves.
Wonderful. Dr. Bahby,
That's it.
great show.
Oh, Janet Jackson. Is that the end? No.
That's going to about do it. Wonderful conversation. I got to bring you back.
Appreciate you. I gave you one of my Envision mugs.
Absolutely.
Coffee mugs. Enjoy.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much. Look at this. Thank you. Wow. Yeah, and but definitely got to bring you back. Good conversation once again with Dr. Bahby Banks. And the thing about it, when you go to her website, there's so much valuable information on the website that's just amazing that I couldn't get a chance to look at all of it, but I did do research. And I said, oh man, I you know what, to my audience, I really didn't have to prepare a lot of questions because I knew her data and her answers were going to be, unended. I'm going to create a new word.
Overfloweth with data. Don't ask me no question. I'll bring you some receipts, as the young people say. I'll come with my data.
I'll be there.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and shout out to Delon for the connect. I always give respect where respect is due. So thank you for connecting me with Gary, and let's go be great.
Appreciate it. Once again, you listen to Get With The Program Radio Show. I'm your host, Gary Jones. As I always say, stay positive, keep your head up, and remember to
Get with the program.
What you talking about?
The program. The program. Get with the program.
Everybody clap to this. Say what?
Get with the program.
It starts now.